there on the objective, on the X, DJ Price from small town Pennsylvania, happy-go-lucky guy, died that day. What I would say is a monster was created, and someone who was obsessed with either war or struggling through anger, bitterness, rage, and lived a life like that from then on started from that moment.
How'd that impact you in future deployments, especially now you're going on deployments as a special operator?
It really spiked into that drive, that mentality, that like mission accomplishment, that boom, boom, boom. If you don't do this, people die. It gave me hyper focus and channelized all my energy to just war, deployment. I did, like I said, 7 back-to-back deployments, but it turned me into such a bitter, raged person, and it couldn't stop. Went to Scout Sniper School and kept raising my hand and be like, I want to go to this school so I can be better on the battlefield, so I can kill more, I can do this, I can be a more lethal weapon for my team, myself, and more people, and just mission accomplishment and just drive that to the ground. And I did. I drove my family and everyone else I loved to the ground who was around me.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Resilient Show. I say this all the time, but this is a super special episode because I have my friend Dennis Price here. Dennis and I have become very close friends. He's a fellow Force Recon Marine, Army Ranger, spent some time at a JSOC unit, and is still in the Marine Corps. He's 18 years in, both active and reserve now, and also the CEO of Heroes for Humanity, which I've been a big part of, not only as a supporter, but some of the humanitarian work we've done together. And now I'm going to be joining you on the board.
Yeah,
for Heroes for Humanity. So
no, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a massive buildup, and it's hard because we've done so many adventures and so many different combat zones and missions together. Like I don't even know where to start besides like back at day one, and so I'm super excited to continue, share some of the stories that we've been with from day one in the Afghan evacs to Ukraine to then humanitarian aid, and then just the constant fellowship and discipling, that truly that David and Jonathan style relationship and brotherhood. To diving in, looking for Atlantis in
shadow figures.
Yeah, and shadow figures and all that stuff. So it's just been such an amazing time. And I feel so outrageously blessed, and words don't really explain, how thankful I am for you saving my life in Afghanistan to just everything you've done for me and my family.
Well, I mean, but we talked about doing this episode quite a bit, but we actually were going to wait. So for the audience, Dennis and I wanted to do this episode. We were going to wait because Dennis has some future plans to do a book. So we were like, wait, let's wait till you do a book and we could help, to spread the word for the book. But it's just too much you're doing right now that the audience and the world needs to know about, especially through Heroes for Humanity. So I'm like, we could do another episode when the book comes out, but we need to not keep putting this off.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, there's so much that you and I have been part of. And then we, not only outside of operating in the humanitarian space, but just as friends, our wives are friends, our kids are friends, and we just have, become a big part of my life. And so it's really an honor to have you here and be able to share some of our personal history and relationship with the audience. So I want to start off this. There's so many places I was trying to think where to start, but I really want to start off with giving the audience, because you have a very, to me, I'm super proud of your background and what you've done in the military. So I want to give the audience a snapshot of your history in the military, kind of like your chronological military bio, and then we'll, if we could get some wave tops on that, then we'll just shift over into some of the stories that I want to really pull some lessons out of you for the audience.
Yeah. No, I've been super blessed, and I have a really oddball, weird career that I've just been super fortunate, and which I didn't realize till later on was the forging to who I am today and why I do what I do. But yes, so I served a little over 18 years in the Marine Corps, came in that 07 time frame, 9 months later, deployed as a turret gunner in Ramadi in 2008, and then did my first deployment at 18, 19 years old.
So you're 03 infantry, what?
No,
what?
I tried to join as machine gunner or tanker, and so I spent a brief 2.5 years in the big Marine Corps. I served as artillery first, and then switched to infantry immediately, and then that's when I picked up a recon contract. And so I did my first tour out through the big Marine Corps as, like I said, a turret gunner all throughout Al Anbar, Providence. And then quickly, I went to trial for Recon, and then I went to First Recon, then served briefly at First Force Recon to get immediately picked up at Second Force Recon, deployed out through them again multiple times. So I served with First Recon, deployed through them, Second Force Recon, multiple deployments to that. And then I got out, I switched to be an instructor as a Marine liaison in the Army for, I wanted to be a Ranger instructor. So I had to serve my first 9 months to be a black hat. And no one wants to do that, so you have to bite the bullet up front. I served my first 9 months or so as a black hat, and then briefly got to teach at Army Sniper as a Marine Scout Sniper. I did a class there, and then around that time is when like Corona kicked off, and then I also got to go out and be assessed and selected for a certain program. I got to be assessed and selected as the first Marine to ever go to that program, and then that's when pretty much my life came crumbling down. Mixed with the birth of my newest daughter, and then Corona at the same time, and getting handed a crazy bill, immediately got out after that. The Marine Corps also decided that they're not going to have a Marine participate in that specific JSOC unit. So about 9 to a year, whatever in there, I got pulled out all exact same time. So I got out of active duty about 15 years. And I didn't know what to do. So there's a program called Direct Affiliate Program. And the day I got out, I checked into Third Force Recon, the reserve, the one that you served in Mobile, Alabama. And I served in Third Force Recon. I deployed as a team leader through there. And then I recently helped stand up the very first MARSOC reserve team as one of the stanchion holders there. I served about 1.5 years in that position, and now I teach at one of their programs or help assist in one of their certain programs in MARSOC right now, and I'll retire out through there. During those times in the reserve, I also taught at Army Special Forces Sniper as the first Marine sniper to teach at Army Special Forces called CIFSIC in 20th Special Forces Group. So I got to spend about 18 years all throughout various different special operations units from like all the ones I just mentioned. So been super blessed, super gifted. And then I went military contracting for many years and been in and out of all different types of contracts through the government and other ones, and led me to here. So
yeah, I know a big part of your career is being a scout sniper. It's I know you don't want to go through all the details of your career, but being a Marine Corps scout sniper to a recon sniper, and then working with all the various other special operations sniper schools, including doing it as a contractor with some various government organizations. So just talk a little bit about your sniper experience.
Yeah, no, that's where my love is. Like Jeff Blaylock, he's a recon sniper also. He was on your team in back when you were active. He's a mutual friend of ours, real close friend. And so he says, if you ever meet me, you'll know like my love is for sniper because I won't shut up about it. Yeah. So I love everything because what I teach at, if it's pre-sniper in the Marine Corps, if it's that Army sniper class I taught, or in Special Forces sniper for the Army, I tell everyone, it's not just a job. It's not just a billet. It's not whatever. It's a lifestyle. It changes who you are. It changes when you're walking from here to the parking lot and establishing the wind calls to just like looking at shine, outline, contrasted background, breaking up the baseline, all that stuff. Things are running your head. And what I tell everyone is, and I actually learned this from a guy who's a Force Recon guy, Matt Lucky. I think he's a Master Guns now, if not a Master Sergeant with Third. He said it the best. The best Recon Marines are snipers, and the best snipers are Recon Marines because it's such complementary field craft and in their skill set. So I just ate it up, and I've been a sniper for 15 plus years. And then I went private military contracting sniper. I went to them through their sniper school, and then I went to their sniper instructor school and went to almost every special sniper school in all the DOD and others. And so I really love it. I love everything about it. It's a lifestyle. My kids know it. If you ask them what concealment is, they'll tell you verbatim. You ask them what target indicator is, they'll tell you anything a sniper does or fails to do that reveals his position, patches his presence to the enemy. Various schools will tell you which order, but that's the one it came up in. So That's the one I truly just love.
Well, I mean, that's why I asked you about it, because I've been around a lot of snipers and special operations snipers, and I've never seen anyone more passionate about, that craft than you. And so I'm setting this up to ask you this question because a lot of our audience listening are young men that want to be, in special operations, and most young guys that want to be in special operations have this vision of being a military sniper. And so, how would you encourage like someone to pursue that path? Like, what would be something that you could say to a young person that's like, hey, I want to be a sniper, or to let them know, hey, maybe it's not for you. Like, what would?
Yeah, it's a great point. And when I used to teach at CIFSIC for Special Forces Sniper, I taught. I said it in the intro. I said, hey, everyone always wants to be special operations, but when you're in the community and whenever you go back home, and you tell all your family and stuff like that, but the first thing that they do, they say, "Oh, are you also a sniper?" And then like they look at sniper as such a massive thing because it's special operations is almost unachievable for everyone else. But being a sniper, like everyone likes to hunt, and really to push that 800-yard shot to 1,000 to plus, they can't really do that on their own. They're like, I get flooded with people always trying to ask me to teach them because that requires professional instruction from snipers. So I would tell people, evaluate yourself and see what you're really doing it for. It's very sad, and I don't really want to dwell on the topic, but the Marine Corps got rid of its Scout Sniper program. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it. I want to end up in tears.
That was my next question, actually.
I don't like to talk about it, but the Recon and Force Recon community really did a great job of early identifying that, and they made Recon Sniper school.
Which is very specific to the reconnaissance mission.
Yes, exactly. So they took out the 1,000 level tasks and the 2,000 level tasks of like, setting up a radio and comm and land nav. Well, we already do that in Recon school. So you already have a good foundation of that knowledge and that stuff. Mm-hmm. So like now, it's how I describe it is if they grabbed Sniper School, took out the 1,000 level and 2,000 level tasks, and they added Special Operations Urban Sniper School, and they blended it together. That's essentially
But you have to be a Recon Marine to go.
Yeah. I don't know the specifics of it, but so far, yes. You have to be a Recon Marine to go. I think they make the last 0317s are floating around in the community. I think they're allowed to go.
And the 0317s are the old Marine Corps Scout Snipers that has been disbanded.
Yeah, so 0317 is the secondary MOS. When you graduate Marine Scout Sniper School, you are 0317, and those are dying breed now. So,
well, I know you said you don't want to answer it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Why do you think the Marine Corps got rid of the Marine Corps, the historical, infamous Marine Corps Scout Sniper School?
Man, you're asking, hey, how do you it's like being a psychiatrist and trying to explain what is in the mind of Ted Bundy. Yeah. Like you're trying to have me explain chaos.
Why would they do that? Why would they?
Dude, I've heard so many different people and in different positions and all throughout hire, but it comes down to this. It sucks, but we weren't making the mission because it was a hard school. It's like 3.5 months long of grueling, intense variables that you could fail at any given time. So they weren't making the mission. But like the Marine Corps preaches on doing hard things, and I'll probably get crucified for saying this, but either way, the community all thinks relatively the same. We weren't pushing out because the attrition rate was so high because it's a hard school. But then the Marine Corps, in its great wisdom, said, "Oh, well, we're not making the numbers, so we'll just cut it because they're not pushing out 0317s, not pushing out whatever." So they try to water it down a whole bunch. They try to like do a great giveaway. They try to whatever, but the standards are the standards. And that is one of the toughest schools. I've been to countless special operations schools and elite schools all throughout the DOD and so on. And that is still pegged as the number one, or if not one of the hardest schools at any given time, because I can fail for what you did. And like we're stalking along and someone else is by me and screws up, and now it draws to my position and they accidentally walk on me. If we're shooter spotter or taking that 1,000-yard shot, if you can't call wind, I go home. If any little thing goes wrong, I go home. If you don't know a certain definition of the Marine Scout Sniper mission or anything attention to detail, I go home, like any given time. So there's a good saying in sniper school. They say, if you're not religious, you'll find something to pray to in sniper school. I feel like you'll pray to that rock over there. Just wait.
So, I mean, there's infamous terms that come out of this school of pigs and hogs. Can you share with the audience the history behind that and what it means?
Well, first, some people outside the community will like look at pig as a derogatory term, but man, I have so many friends who have pig pride tattooed on their feet. So pig is just all it means is professionally instructed gunman. Your baseline is higher than the average shooter or any rifleman because you were personally instructed by snipers and you're in a sniper platoon. It just means, and you deployed as a sniper.
Which at the time it was called state platoons.
Yep, state platoon.
Surveillance target acquisition platoons.
Yep, absolutely. Some are SSPs, which is scout sniper platoon, and every unit, there was no consistency across the board. So if you're a pig, a professionally instructed gunman, it means that like, man, that's a high title. Like that means you've been in the sniper community, you've been professionally instructed, you live and you've been carrying a sniper rifle a whole bunch. Many pigs deploy once or twice before they even get to go to sniper school. When you go to sniper school, Marine Scout sniper school, and you graduate, that is when you become from a pig, professionally instructed gunman, to a hog, a hunter of gunmen. So a hog is an 0317 hunter of gunmen, and there's a lot of various different terms.
You also consider it an instructor, right? Or so am I right? The Quantico, at least the Quantico school was like...
No, so what you can do now is you can, kind of like McQuist or something else like that, you can now run any pre-sniper and make pigs.
Okay.
So that's what you can do. The Quantico schoolhouse you're talking about, I don't know, it keeps advertising that. It's because that is where the Scout Sniper Instructor Schoolhouse is. Okay. So they just kept that title, but any 0317 makes pigs because you're taking a wealth of knowledge, kind of like, I think it's Sephardic in SF. They can make their DA course, which is like
their assaulters.
Yeah, their assaulter course. So like one is like a 8 to 10 week course, and then if you graduate that really tough urban course, then you can make Cephalic, which is like the anywhere from 4 to 6 week course and make shooters and all that stuff. So it's kind of like that. You can pass down that tremendous amount of knowledge and make pigs or professionally instructed gunmen. So you can teach pre-sniper.
And then the indication is the hog's tooth, right?
The hog's tooth, yeah.
It's the hog's tooth.
Yeah.
The hog's tooth is a 7.62 caliber projectile that's put on a piece of 550 cord and worn around your neck.
That is one way to get it. The other way to get it is actually so a hog is and this is why the Marine Corps Scout Sniper is so different, is because our primary mission as a hog, a hunter of gunmen, is not just to shoot people with a scoped rifle. That's pretty easy and like that's the typical sniper mission, but a scout sniper mission is kind of your whole mission is to counter sniper operations, to stock up on another sniper and shoot him before he shoots you. That is the ultimate goal of every sniper is how can I hunt hunter of gunmen. And a few of my buds have done that. And so you go up and after you shoot that sniper and stock up on him, then you go and you take his last locked and loaded round that was meant for you. And you take that and you wear it around your neck because that was supposed to be made for you. And you won that day.
And we know someone who's actually pulled it off in combat.
Yep. AJ
Paschuti. And he has a book coming out called Dark Horse. It's going to be phenomenal. And in fact, he killed the kind of notable sniper from Iraq, Juba, who had killed hundreds of Americans, and also killed a Marine sniper and took his rifle. And AJ went out in the battlefield and took him. So we're gonna have AJ on the show too.
Yeah, great, and he's an awesome guy.
He's awesome,
legend in the community, both in Force Recon and the Scout Sniper one. And I'm excited for his book to come out. I hope. Absolutely want to endorse it and build our community up and get guys out there who are doing amazing things and keep spreading the word.
Yeah, I was talking to him recently. It's at the Pentagon for Pentagon Review, and they're so slow. And we've even had Congress. Shout out to Congressman Derek Van Orden who actually did a official congressional request to make sure AJ's book gets through because man, that story deserves to be told, and AJ deserves to be able to tell his story. Because he's so humble about it, and he's talking about the community, and it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you're next. You got to write yours next.
So on mine, not to give any kind of early warnings, but everyone's been telling me my whole time, like, hey, you should write a book. You should write a book. So I kept saying, if I ever wrote a book, it'd be about everyone else but me. So next year I'll start writing a book about everyone else but me. It'll be called Heroes for Humanity, Volume 1. And it'll be a story of just all the amazing men and women who I got to serve with, mainly outside of uniform, who are using their gifts and talents to give back to humanity for no other reason but to help each other. And man, I've seen like I got to work with amazing individuals like yourself, Dave Eubanks from Free Burma Rangers, Sarah Verardo, to like tremendous amount of influential people, or just no one, in like, some guy who works at the Jiffy Lube who goes out and does amazing things and helps save so many people for nothing, just for the good of humanity. So I really want to showcase everyone else's story, and it'll kind of be like every time I worked with someone and what their ministry, who they are, and what their kind of like their mission is, and their group's mission.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm pretty excited for you to do that. And hear those stories. So all this experience as a sniper, Force Recon Marine, working with other, joint services, you've had 15 deployments, both in the military, private sector. And one of those deployments was Ramadi. And I know from knowing you that Ramadi was a significant deployment for you and impacted your life in a pretty profound way, a negative way, actually. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it was my first deployment. I told you when I was, pretty much right when I joined the Marine Corps, 9 months later, I was in Ramadi, Iraq. And I was a machine gunner on top of a turret all throughout Al Anbar Province. And specifically, this mission was from Fallujah to Ramadi. We were based in Ramadi the whole time. We did convoy operations all throughout Al Anbar in Iraq, then foot patrols and all this other stuff. But and we've been, we hit IEDs and we had IED initiated contacts, specifically getting blown up or explosions around us the whole entire time, probably about 5 or 6 IEDs. But this specific one, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th time we got blown up or it hit us. And so we just came back from Fallujah. We're going to Ramadi, and it's starting to go. I look to the left, and the city of Ramadi is to my left. We're on, I can't remember if it's called Route Mobile or Michigan. It's the primary one. So we're coming up out of there, and the convoy's going, and right when you go on an underpassage, the SOP, standard operating procedure, is to switch lanes when you go on an underpass so that if someone's above, they drop a grenade. When you come out the other side, they can't see it. So if they see you go in this side, they won't be on the other side, drop a grenade down the gunner's hatch. So that's the SOP. So everyone did the change, and the third vehicle back or so, he does not. And if it's complacency during this time, if it's, he was sleepy, whatever it was, that's ultimately what happened. And he runs over and hits IED. It eventually pops off. How I try to describe it is it's an IED initiated ambush, and it started one of the most intense moments of my life that I can pinpoint. So we started taking pop shots and everything from the city of Ramadi. We can't identify where they're going, and it feels like we're, trapped on the X for what felt like a lifetime. That eventually turned up a temperature inside of me that enraged and ignited so hot that I couldn't control it. I wanted to kill everyone there that day. On the objective, on the X, DJ Price from small town Pennsylvania, town of 1,000 people or less, happy-go-lucky guy, died that day. And so what I would say is a monster was created, and someone who just was obsessed with either war or just driven and just struggling through anger, bitterness, rage, and lived a life like that from then on, started from that moment. So it was very, very impactful for me. And specifically, I can always pinpoint that was the moment that it happened.
How did you carry that forward in other deployments? Like what was your, I guess I'll say it like this, when most people that I've seen begin deployments, their motivation, their reason for deploying completely changes for those who have multiple deployments based on what they've seen, atrocities they've seen, and they become hard and jaded and cynical. and violent. So how'd that impact you on future deployments, especially now you're going to deployments as a special operator?
No, absolutely. You nailed it. It ignited, like I said, ignited a fire that eventually burned so hot that I couldn't control it. It really spiked into that drive, that mentality, that like mission accomplishment, that boom, boom, boom. If you don't do this, people die. If you don't, whatever. And so it gave me hyper focus and channelized all my energy to just war, deployment. I did, like I said, 7 back-to-back deployments, and eventually, the hunger for more, and just like I used to try to explain it, at the drop of a hat, I would go 0 to 100. My pupils would widen, my nostrils would flare, my heart would beat, and I would get angry and intense. And that could be for any reason at all. And I was able to eventually channelize that and be like, okay, we're going on a ruck run because we're in recon school. We're going on we're at scout sniper school. I'm doing whatever. And I would be able to tap into that, eventually, but at the same time, I wasn't able to control that. So we could be at a bar and someone bump into me, and boom, all of a sudden a bar stool's flying across the bar and smashing into the glass just because someone did something wrong. So, it was a blessing and a curse at the same exact time.
You feel like it made you more effective as a leader in combat, or in some ways yes, some ways no.
Yeah. So at the time I didn't know how to hone it in. So I think it made me effective in combat because we, especially prior, through all the workups, it kept me driven, it kept me hard, it kept me doing 1 to 2 a day workouts, kept me on the mats and fighting in jiu-jitsu to MMA to American freestyle kickboxing, eventually Muay Thai, to all this other stuff, and chomping at the bits because I had one mission. And it's what the Marine Corps teaches you and breeds in you to do. And it's kill, kill, kill. And that's what the Marine Corps really does a good job, is brainwashing that. When you wake up every morning, you run 3 miles with your platoon. That's all the cadence is based around of, is just killing and everything, because there's 2 wars popping off left and right in the global war on terror. So, but it turned me into such a bitter, raged person, and that it couldn't stop. And then but then I started volunteering. I said I went to Force Recon selection, and then served in different units, and then went to Scout Sniper School and kept raising my hand and be like, I want to go to this school so I can be better on the battlefield, so I can kill more. I can do this. I can be a more lethal weapon for my team, myself, and more people, and just mission accomplishment, and just drive that to the ground. And I did. I drove my family and everyone else I loved to the ground who was around me.
I really want to get into, what that looks like at home. Before we do, I want to ask, of all of the Force Recon deployments, is there one deployment or I would say even deployment, one operation that really sticks out that you could share what a special operations mission looks like in Iraq or Afghanistan?
So in Iraq or Afghanistan specifically, I would say that it's hard because it would be our mission. Like that was the best special operations style mission, because you didn't, especially with global war on terror for 20 years, you could, most soft units were then used as just, elite infantry units. They literally just went in the door, kicked in the door, and did that.
But more assets, more equipment.
Yeah, more assets, more equipment, and that's all it is infantry with a credit card bill that no one cared about.
A budget.
Yeah, with a massive budget. So, but our mission specifically, when we went into Afghanistan, it was 2 men unsupported behind enemy lines, and we had to truly use stealth as our weapon, maneuver around the battlefield, and duck and dodge. If it was from Taliban to Jeet guards to the Russians to eventually the Chinese, all that stuff, and then to go build out routes and do a true special reconnaissance mission, which is build out routes, evade capture, and while getting SIGINT pulled on us, to all that other stuff. So that was probably by far the most special operations style missions we've ever done, was that. And now that I'm in the private sector, that's where I see it, because it's less red tape and,
Yeah, I'd say for me too, that's probably one of the most significant things that I did, and you got to do that together. I know we're going to talk, we'll dig into that here in a little bit. So all this stuff that you're building up, like I said, some ways it makes you more effective on the battlefield. Other ways it's, it probably puts some level of risk. But you take it home with you, and you said you drove your family into the ground. Before you answer that, Charlotte, your wife, I've met many military spouses, probably the most like superhero military spouse I've ever met. I say that mainly because I know you, and she has to deal with you. You're like, before people meet you, I'm always like, you have the friend you give a warning for.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're gonna love Dennis, but his intensity is like there. I always say like this. Imagine this: you have a Malamar, right? And Malamar is the most disciplined, trainable, like canine you could have, and you could train him to do anything. But there's also like Malamar that'll eat your couch. Like Dennis is a combination of both. He'll eat your couch. Like so for Charlotte to like deal with you, your pace, your just intensity, and then your passion and heart to go out and serve, like and being gone a lot. She's just incredible, and you have 4 amazing kids. And so you took, in addition to her dealing with your pace, you just took all this home with you, and she had to deal with that. She had to endure that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I've been blessed beyond what I deserve. And I truly mean that. Charlotte, not just Charlotte, but like military wives, it's like the most untold story, that the burden they bear when we go home. There's a very common cliche saying that everyone loves a soldier until he comes home. And like they deal with us, they deal with the overload and the overflow of that. And it ruins, it comes to steal, kill, and destroy our marriage. And like I said, it's one of the untold stories, but Charlotte has just been that steady rock by my side for over 13 years now. We have 4 beautiful, amazing children. I keep saying like, I'm definitely blessed beyond what I deserve. And she's kind of, since I got out of active duty military, she's kind of now have to do it at a different pace. Cause she says a lot, she's like, you're away a lot, but you're also home a lot now too, because you're not going away for 9 months. You're going away in like 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and whatever different pace that is. But she's also having to unwind and untangle 13 years of a battle rhythm and the angerness, bitterness, rage, that intensity, the misguided that I did for so long, And while I might have, I think it might have, I'm pretty sure it was you who said it. Like, man, I may have found faith. I may have found inner peace, but my wife did not. We didn't come to that peace time at the same moment. So it was years later that she finally got to get help and talk things out, and then finally, work a lot of things out through that. So
yeah, well, you guys have had a lot more to deal with outside of just your military service. Like I said, you have 4 amazing kids. Your youngest, Amelia, was born with a lot of challenges. And I know that changed the trajectory of your military career, but it just brought a tremendous burden on you and your family. And the way you guys have navigated that, just sitting outside of it, watching you guys navigate that has been just pretty inspiring.
Yeah. No, that was it was a life-changing moment when Amelia was born, because she was born with so many complications. She was born with 2 rare diseases. And at this time, I was about 15 years active duty. Like I said, I just went and got screened for that specific unit over at JSOC. All this other stuff was happening. And then Amelia was born, and she was life flighted. We were stationed by Fort Benning area, and she was life flighted pretty much right from birth to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, because it was the only hospital that can treat her rare diseases and what was happening in her body. Charlotte and her got life flighted and they were there for 6 months while I was active duty. And at the same time, Corona happened and all this other stuff. And and then, like I told you, that the Marine Corps just decided not to allow Force Recon Marines over at that specific program anymore. So I just got let go of that. Corona, my daughter was born with two rare diseases, and everything started piling up, and just a massive buildup of everything crumbling down at once.
Not to mention, you haven't reconciled your struggles from deploying.
No, and that was weaponized against me. Ultimately, it came down to one specific night in my garage. my wife was away for about 6 months at this point. I've been, at this point, the doctors told me that I get a call and I'm like, hey, so what's the plan? What's going on with Amelia? And they're like, when is she coming home? Whatever. And they're like, hey, she's born with 2 rare diseases, and that right now, she's not going to outgrow one of them until at least the age of 8. If she doesn't get childhood cancers and tumors at like a blink of an eye, because that's what can happen, at the blink of an eye until age 8, she might be able to grow out of one of them, which is Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, BWS. And the other one was hyperinsulinism and all this other stuff. So the doctors tell me like, hey, you only can live in 2 areas in the United States, outside the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and outside of the Children's Hospital, kind of by Houston, Dallas area. And I was like, well, I don't know anyone in Texas, so I'll go to Children's Hospital. So I called the Marine Corps and let them know. I'm like, hey, this is my family situation. I can only live in 2 areas in the United States. They're like, well, we don't have a base there, so good luck. And I was nearing the end of my career where I had to just re-enlist, and the doctor told me this is my 2 options. And previously, when I was out with Second Force Recon, and I had a family health problem with my second oldest daughter when she was born, or in the pregnancy. It was a really, really complicated pregnancy that we almost lost her multiple times. Guys like us, we don't know what to do. So I just put my head to the ground and grinded and just focused on my work. And there's a really good wise saying. It says, a dog who chases 2 rabbits catches neither. Mm-hmm. And while I was trying to focus and fix on my career, all I did was burn my family to the ground, and I lost, pretty much both. So now at this point, I'm like, hey, I tried when my family situation was in a dire need for medical, I chose my work before. And just like what they say all the time, hey, if they can replace you that easily, and then you shouldn't focus too much on that. So I chose my family, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to switch out, and I guess I'll get out at this time and leave active duty right before early retirement. So the first sergeant at the time, he called me. I called him, tell him the plan, and I'm about to get out. I'm going to focus on my family. I can only live in 2 areas. There's no military base. I understand this now. And I'm going to choose my family over that. And we start planning to get out, and he's like, you could file a 9-month extension to get early retirement. So I file a 9-month early extension. Hey, bring me my 15, early retire. Boom, gets denied, regardless of the situation. So
I'm just curious, what level of the Marine Corps denied that?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
It probably went straight to the spam box or something.
Yeah. Whoever's responsible for that, if you're listening, shame on you.
Yeah.
Freaking.
Yeah. Shame in the Game of Thrones style shame. Walk through the city and just get whipped and made. Yeah. So I just lose pretty much my career at the time. I was at the pinnacle of my career. All this other stuff just got removed out of jail. So just got out of that program. Corona was happening. Youngest daughter is born, 2 rare diseases, all this other stuff. Get told that the Marine Corps is not going to back me. I now have to switch in the reserve. And at the same exact time, the doctor, because he's like, oh, you're getting out. So there was going to be a blank spot of TRICARE and overflow and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, the doctor comes back and is like, hey, by the way, she's been poked and prodded by 12 specialists and doctors every day for 6 months, plus the life flight. Here's a $1.2 million medical bill. And man, the weight of that piece of paper was the weight of the world that came on my desk and on my shoulders. So at this time, all that stuff I told you I was collaborating and all this mixed with what you said, the things I didn't even deal with at the time. Everything is piling up. And then, eventually a little voice comes in my head and says, everything's building up. So I'm now, fast forward, I'm in my garage. My wife is still in the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia with my youngest. I'm home, 3 kids, active duty. All this stuff is piling. It all just hits. And I'm biking in my garage in my Recon bike. And that's how I deal with stress. 45 minutes goes by. I'm amping myself up even more. I'm like, man, what can I do? I'm supposed to get out. I don't have a degree. I don't have whatever. What's happening? And I said, no one cares how fast I can run and if I can shoot someone from a mile away. No job cares about that. Like the military's built me for one specific reason, like taking lives, and that's it. And so all this other stuff, it's building up even more. The crushing of my family was coming down, and eventually a little like voice comes in my head, and it's like, the reason why your family is suffering right now is because you waged war and ruined so many lives. The reason why this is all happening is because of how you lived your life. And all this stuff it's intensing. It's, and it's building up. And what I try to explain to people how it's like, especially with people who are struggling with veteran suicide, is it's like right when that you accept that voice in your head, it's like all else is white noise. I try to explain it like it's a jammer. Like man, sitting here today, I could easily talk to myself like, dude, you have so many things to live for. Why are you being so stupid? How can you not see this? Man, when you let that voice in your head and like I said, it comes to do three things: steal, kill, and destroy. And it comes and it's like all else is white noise, and all else falls upon deaf ears, and it jammed all outside signal from anything going there. So 45 minutes goes by. I'm getting even more amped up. That voice is turning up even more and louder to eventually I couldn't really hear anything. No common sense or cognitive thoughts can come in my head. The reason why your family is suffering, you did this for them. Everyone's suffering around you. You dedicated your life to combat. You dedicated your life to war, and all you did was burn everyone who loves around you. The reason why, and eventually, like hour one comes by, an hour and a half comes by, and eventually it's like, the reason why your daughter's suffering right now is because of you. And you just got handed a $1.2 million medical bill, and getting amped up even more, and everyone's suffering around me because of me. And then it's like, if you kill yourself right now, your family will get $400,000 to $500,000. How else are you going to pay for that massive medical bill? What are you going to do when you get out? You have no outside skills outside of combat. You have no outside things that are applicable to anything. And man, when the enemy's lie gets into you like that, like I said, everything else is white noise. It's a jammer. Like no cognitive thought can come through my head. I'm super amped now. It's like hour two on the bike. I'm getting even more bent up, and I'm like, man, this is it. Like, so in the Marine Corps, in the military, you always hear, hey, if you're at your wit's end, if you're truly at that level on the edge and about to do it, call someone. So that's what I did. I was like, man, I hate to be the guy who's going to call someone and sound like this, but I was like, this is not a false promise. Like that is it. I can't think of one good reason not to blow my brains out right now. So hour two's going by, I'm staring at the gun, and I can't think of a single good reason. So in my head, I'm like, maybe I can call one of my friends who was one of my peers as an instructor down at Fort Benning. And it was like, maybe he can tell me and give me one reason why I shouldn't blow my brains out right now. So I call him, and he didn't pick up. So I call him again, didn't pick up again. And find out later he was traveling for work. But at that time, I call him again, nothing. I was like, Roger, God, like, that's it. I tried to reach out. That was it. This is it. So 2-3 hours go by, I'm biking, amping up even more. I go over from staring at the gun, and I pick it up. I hold it to my head, and I'm like, that's it. And right before I do it, a statistic randomly pops in my head, and I haven't heard about this stat in years. When my children are sleeping in the next room, I have the gun to my head. One of my first thoughts is, who's going to find their body? My wife is in the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. She's over there. I'm like, who's going to find their body of their dad, their war hero, their whatever dad who they looked up to? Who's going to find that? What's going to wake them up is that shot. And a random statistic in my head popped up, and it said that, so I have 3 girls and 1 boy, and it said that a girl raised without a father in the household is about 6 to 8 times more likely to grow up and have pre-teen pregnancies. And I thought that, and I was like, man, I can't believe that stat just ran in my head, like last minute and everything like that. And then I'm like, I have a son, and it pops in my head, and it said, a son raised without a father in the household is, again, about 4 to 6 times more likely to have to be incarcerated by the age of 18. So all these stats are running through my head. I'm like, oh my God, like, man, my children, who's going to find their dad's body? What's going to wake them up? Like sleeping in the next room, hear a gunshot, boom, who's going to find them? And then the worst part is another stat popped in my head saying that if your parent commits suicide, your children are 8 to 10 times more likely to grow up and commit suicide. And man, I put the gun down and I'm like, all this is rushing through my head. And at the same exact time, my youngest daughter is in a hospital like 6 states away, struggling to survive, fighting for her life every day to be on this world. And her like war hero dad, her dad who like she's going to grow up to look upon as what a man is struggling and won't even fight to live one more day. So that really, really, really hit me. And I'm like breaking down now. I'm like, man, I can't even hack it. I can't even fake it one more day to give my children the dad they deserve. So I realize what's happening. I put down the gun. I walk into my living room. I put on Cornerstone Television, which is a church channel. And I'm like, man, I'm so messed up right now. I need to get figured out in life. I need to figure out what's going to happen. And I need to readjust my baseline. And as a sniper, I always like bring things back to this. And I'm like, man, my zero, I'm off in life. I'm missing the mark. I'm off in my zero right now. And I need to realign myself for what is true. And through that, I realized, what is true growing up as a Christian, whatever I was like, I need to go back to church. I need to bring my family to church and I need to start living the right way. And I was like, and I'll work every day and night. I'll work 3 to 5 jobs if that's what it takes to pay this $1.5 million medical bill to give my children the father they deserve. And so that's what I did. So I got out immediately. I started contracting overseas, joined 3rd Force Recon, the reserve thing, and try to hop on the right path.
At what point did you actually make a full like surrender to faith, and how significant was that in your recovery?
Yeah. So it was still not that moment.
Yeah.
I said, I just knew that I was off. I was missing the mark. I needed re-zeroed like a sniper rifle in life. So I started taking my kids to church every Sunday. I started doing, started trying to live the righteous path. And, I was getting there. I was shots on target, but I wasn't hitting the X. I wasn't hitting that. So I would stumble. I would go throughout, and at this time I was contracting with what used to be called Blackwater. Changes their name every few years. It's about to change again. So with that group as a sniper, so I pick up. That's what most of us do when we get out. We're like, hey, I don't have any good skills. Well, this 6-figure job salary sounds pretty good, especially if you're doing to pay for your daughter's medical bills. So I'm walking the halls of formerly known as Blackwater. And that's when it comes down to a pivotal moment again in my life. I'm walking down the halls and it felt like I got struck by lightning. That's how I always try to describe it to people. It felt like I got struck by lightning. Every fiber in my being, every hair in my body was standing straight up. And that's the first and only time I ever heard the audible voice of God and said, you have to save them. And I was walking through the halls, no context, no nothing. And I was like, what? I lost. So I walk in, I make a left in the lounge in the room, and I see on the TV, Kabul, Afghanistan about to fall. And that's when I was like, what can I do? And the next words came, anything. And that was it. So I see Kabul, Afghanistan about to fall. Audible voice of God saying, you have to save them. And that was it. So in the military, I got mission commander. I got given a mission. I got given, or command authority. And then I was like, well, what can I do? Anything. So I called 10 people. Those 10 people called 10 people. Those 10 people called 10 people. And quickly, in like a matter of hours, if that, I get my first family of 6 American dual citizens who were from Alaska in Kandahar, who were trapped in Afghanistan and got given 6 days before their oldest daughter, 14, and their second oldest daughter, 12, are going to be raped and sold off to the Taliban. I was like, Roger, I got mission clearance. I got given a mission. I got given a timeline, and boom. And quickly it unfolded into a crazy thing, hitting the highlights of what became the Afghan evacuation.
Yeah. And in the beginning, just for clarity for those listening, those, you were orchestrating those through like over the phone, like kind of using local nationals on the ground. You didn't go into Afghanistan in the beginning to do that, right?
Yeah. So at this time, we,
because there's a lot of like people like hearing about the Afghan evacs and a lot of people, are credited with the Afghan evacs without, there's a lot that was done from here. And that initial phase was like the Pineapple Express guys. And there's a lot of stuff that happened that way digitally. And explain how that worked.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I'm glad you're shedding light onto this because, it's kind of like been swept under the rug or people don't really talk about it because, and then everyone did such amazing things. I want to say that first and foremost. Every patriot, everyone who helped with that debacle of that.
Yeah, there were so many, like obviously Saber Islands and Pineapple Express got the majority of the like notable like media behind it. But the truth is there was a lot of people that came together to help. Scott Mann at Pineapple Express, the stuff at Saber Allies. It was just so many people, and it just came together in a coalition effort and just helped.
Yeah. So the way we did it, to back up, so when people were talking about like first starting off in the Afghan evacuation, boom, this all thing is unfolding while people are still trying to get clearance, airplane to land, to all this other stuff getting ready. So, on day one, after we get the American family, got given a mission from Kandahar, quickly a lieutenant colonel, retired Ranger Regiment guy, owned a 50-acre compound in Alaska. So we're like, okay, you own a 50-acre compound in Alaska, we'll use that to train. We'll put together a joint special operations team of veterans, and we'll go in and do rescues. And we'll get their family out, all this their stuff. And so on the second or third day, we got given a plane, and then we got given clearance to land. And on the fifth day, we get their family out 45 minutes before Abbey Gate blows up. And that changed my life. And it was like, and because we pulled off that massive Hail Mary, all assets shifted onto us, and we started quickly in 2 weeks, boom, 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 rescued 55 Americans out. And that's when we got invited to eventually to DC and to join what would then be called, Sever Allies, or a coalition of backed State Department and other governments coming together with NGOs and seeing what we could do in the future. But all those 55, that was all working what you called, it's open source intelligence, OSINT, and working ITG, which is initial terminal guidance, while running assets on the ground and running, using my assets on the ground to get them through HVI's, high-valued individuals, out through certain rat lines across borders while working other people and looking at maps and calling and being on multiple phone calls and be like, hey, here's my source on the ground. He's going to meet at certain X to go here and here and here. And this is how we got them out for the first 55.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward, and where we met was in DC. Everyone had to go around the room and tell who they are, what they did, and what they could do in the future. And at this time, Abbey Gate and all that stuff just happened, and they welded us shut. And everyone's like, well, how do we get Americans out? And so on my part, when I stood up, was like, hey, I wasn't getting 1,700 out or 17,000 out. I wasn't getting 15,000 out. I was getting high valued individuals, this family, boom, 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 vetted through the State Department and other governments, agencies, and be like, this person, boom, here's his clearance, he's going to get out through this rat line across this border, link up with here, and fly out, bam, boom. And so I was getting high value individuals out through rat lines. And that's when you came to me and was like, man, I really like your story. Tell me about your background. And that's when you're like,
oh, wait, we're both at Third Force. And
we both served the Third Force. We served briefly at JSOC units and various different ones, and then hit off ever since.
I think that's why I wanted to talk about that, because there's been a lot of accolades for the Afghan evacs, and there's been a lot of criticism. One of the biggest criticisms was like, the coalition of veterans who were working NGOs were in the way. They were creating problems for the active duty military. And we were bringing in, unvetted people out. And admittedly, there's probably some truth to some of that. But the truth is that no veteran organization, no NGO at all brought anyone to America. Getting them out of Afghanistan, yes. Getting them to America, that's not the responsibility of the NGO. That's the responsibility of the State Department. And so most people are going to third-party lily pad countries, and then the State Department's job was to find out who's going to America or find out who's going to Canada, wherever else. But to my knowledge, there was no unvetted individuals brought by NGO to America. The only unvetted individuals that came to America were on U.S. military C-17s authorized by the White House, over 100,000 of them unvetted brought to America. So I think it's really important to say that there was collaboration. And when I met you, there was a number, maybe like over a dozen, including, Task Force Pineapple, Save Our Allies, you. There was a number, probably over a dozen of people that met in D.C. after Abbey. I flew back from Abu Dhabi. We met there, and it was hosted and participated with the White House and the State Department. So this wasn't a bunch of ragtag NGOs doing this. This was coordinated by, and so there's a lot of coordination that was done in that. And but at that point we were trying to identify what can everyone continue doing together as a coalition effort. And I think the next big step was Mazar Sharif, and there's a bunch of other, over 5,000 people got pulled out through Mazar Sharif through that coalition effort there, and then we heard about the resistance fighters trying to get their women and children out through Tajikistan, and that's kind of where you expressed interest in being part of that.
Yeah. I remember when you first approached me, and I'd never heard of Mighty Oaks at the time. I don't watch like TV or anything like that. And you're like, hey, tell me about your background. I really like your story. And I told you where I served and all that other stuff. And you're like, man, what would you say if I served in those same units? And how would you like to go and rescue the rest of them out through Afghanistan on a 2-man unsupported operation? And I was like, well, I don't know who you are, but if God called me to do this mission and to rescue them, and there's still more people out, then my mission's not done, and I'll go with you. And then, fast forward like 7 days later, we're on a flight, and I was just like Googling. I was like, who is he? I was like, world ranked fighter, 3rd Force Recon. I was like, okay, good. Like, I did this for in contracting, and I took like, essentially, if it was State Department or if it was like government officials or whoever around in combat all the time. So it's like, it's no sweat off my back. All you have to do is just listen to me, and like, we'd be fine. And then I Google you, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, no, there's, it was very complimentary of both of our backgrounds and everything like that. So it was very easy and humbling. And then, ultimately, like, led by the Holy Spirit to call and do so, as I stated in my testimony, is it was just the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that need came out specifically. It was a direct ask, and it was picking the right person to go and do that operation. It's been that, the next few weeks getting to know you, I'm like, it really felt like you were the right person, but there was one obstacle, and it was the fact that you were still active U.S. Marine as a reservist, and the Marine Corps would have forbidden anybody for participating in doing that kind of work. So we had to put in a request, and shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Tommy Waller, who was the commander of 3rd Force Recon at the time, and I requested you to be given official permission to participate in this, and his initial answer was absolutely not. And then in Tommy Waller fashion, he said, hey, this is it just burdened his heart as well. And I think he's a fellow believer. I think God really burdened his heart to reconsider it, and he put his career on the line to give you permission to be the only, to my knowledge, the only U.S. service member to be officially allowed to be part of a humanitarian rescue in Afghanistan outside of the uniform and put boots on Afghan soil to rescue people. I don't know anyone else.
No, it was a massive blessing, and I was in the regular reserve when they called me up, or not called me up, but when we approached, Lieutenant Colonel Tommy Waller, and later on I heard how he did it, and man, this just speaks on the, like, by far the best officer I ever served with and everything like that. From my family struggle and him praying over my family, multiple times a week and calling us over his family to pray over us, like everything like that. And then how he approved me on doing it and how he sent it up to his commander. Mm-hmm. He said, I knew how this was going to go down, and it was going to be a F no. And, but it was the right thing to do. We left Americans behind. We left, vetted SIV special immigration interpreters behind. The people who gave up everything to do what was right was left behind, and there's still more of them. And he knew if he put it to the hierarchy, what they would say. So this came so fast and heavy that he's like, okay, I'm gonna wait the weekend out, and I'll send it on Monday morning. And not sure how much he knew or whatever, but we were already out the door, and we're boots on deck in in Tajikistan, in Afghanistan, the river, Panjshir Valley, and he pressed sends, and he's like, immediately 5 minutes later, he gets a call. He's like, when you get a call immediately from like a 1-star or 2-star general, he's like, he's like, you're doing what? Hell no. He's like, sir, he's already there.
Yeah.
But that shows right there a dying breed of people, of officers, of military individuals who are willing to step up and do the right thing and say, this is what had to be done to make up, patriots going out and doing what they were told. And guess what? I wasn't on any official military order. I wasn't wearing the uniform. This is what I do for a living. Like, this is what we're called to do. You go on mission trips to your church all the time. Mm-hmm. People go in private military contract and go into Iraq and Afghanistan. What really splits the difference in between this is what I do for work and this is what he knew, and that's why he kind of slow rolled it. And because of his courage and his tenacity and his boldness and his leadership, we were able to go and help so many people. So
yeah, well, I've talked somewhat about this story. Saving is easier. Right there, I wrote pretty much the second half of the book is about our time in Tajikistan on the Afghan border, swimming in Afghanistan. But, for you, kind of kind of an overview of that trip and what it meant to you to be part of that.
Yeah. So, we each have our own different versions because, not versions, but where we were in life and why we were called and everything like this. So I told you, called to go in there, boom, all of a sudden meet you, everything's aligning, and was like, hey, how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to sneak in from Tajikistan. We're going to go south, and we're going to go and find routes out from the Panjshir River Valley along and go up north and try to make fording reps from the river valley to route reps, and how we can get more Americans and vetted interpreters out safely while they're fleeing for their lives and all this other stuff. So it wasn't anything crazy. This is what we've been trained for decades. My military career was exactly built for this. So
yeah, it's like recon. Basic reconnaissance 101.
Yeah.
Fording reps, route reps.
Yeah, fit reps out. And it, every time I tell the story, sometimes people are like, so what'd you do? Like, jump in? Did you dive in? Like, I was like, no, man, we swam across the river. We built a rope bridge, lapped around, and then just did it. And some of my friends in that unit, I was, in JSOC, they were like, dude, that's awesome. It's the simplicity in things. And I remember when we first pitched that idea, they're like, wait, are you guys qualified? Like, how do you know how to do it? It's like, dude, we've been doing rope bridges for decades. Mm-hmm. And if we do it in training, it wasn't anything complicated. It's like, guys, this is nothing complicated. We're just going to swim. We're just going to set up a little rope bridge. We're going to clip in, swim people across, and there we go. And that's how it went.
I think one of the pushbacks we got was the water's too cold, and one of my responses was, the water freezes at temperature. The water in that region is so cold. I'm like, it freezes at the same temperature around the globe. I think we're gonna be fine.
I actually love that quote because that's such a great response. The water is so cold, blah, blah, blah. It's like water freezes at the same temperature everywhere. So if you know cold water, you know cold water. Yeah. And I think Wim Hof would probably argue. Yeah. And now everyone does ice baths. So
the pushback was, it doesn't freeze solid because it's moving so fast. It's category 5. Yeah, it's slushy.
Yeah. So now, so that was, and you can attest, that whole entire mission, it was over 10 days and almost no sleep. We're on foot, in vehicle, doing 90 miles over 10 days of border reconnaissance, trying to find route reps, trying to find bridge reps to fording reps, swimming across the river, and trying to build out routes to help save others. And it's wild. We probably slept maybe 2 if 3 hours a night, sleeping on the sides of mountains and like with like 15-minute fire watch, like, you know, and like waking up and like every time you would feel someone move or something like that. Or, you know, if that one time when we slept by the, on the riverbank and like, I feel like we were sleeping on a trampoline and anytime someone would walk by, like, and like, hey, are we going to get captured? What's going to happen? Are they looking for us? You know? And, there was a massive buildup and it's in the book, Saving Aziz. You should buy it. I think it's Amazon's bestseller in 2022. Yeah. Great book. So anyway, in the book, it does such a great job of detailing exactly like what happened. And it's crazy because we did this massive operation, everything, but like the laser focus that we had, and like I never felt tired. I never felt like low energy, and it was like focus on the mission. We did so much out there. We're able to build all these different routes and help people swim across the river, all this other stuff. Well, the first time we ever did and swam across the river, and especially, you know, with the picture with that, the local national who I helped convince to swim us across and, you know, to let us do that. Whenever we came out of the water, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I came out of the water on fire for Christ and rebaptized and on fire for Christ. I was like, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. This was what all those trials and tribulations up until this moment were for. Man, those back-to-back deployments, this, you know, going to all these different special operations schools, all these deployments, all this whatever, was not so that I could be God's war vessel and because I convinced myself that's what he was there for. Like, that's what he put me on this world for. I'm living. Some of my friends are dying. Some of my, like, we're getting blown up. All this other stuff was happening. We're doing this. I'm going to these schools. I'm graduating at the top of my class. Man, this is what God put me on this world for. It only makes sense. And then when I came out of the water, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, man, I had it all wrong. I thought I had it all right, but I was 1 degree off, going from taking lives to saving lives. God didn't put me on those 7 back-to-back deployments, all these special operations schools, jump, dive, free fall, seer, sniper, special versus sniper, all this crazy stuff to be from taking lives, but 1 degree off, from taking lives to saving lives. He put me through all those trials and tribulations and the hardships and like possibly even Amelia's disease, all this other stuff. So I could be the guy who's qualified to sneak in from Tajikistan and swim across the river to save lives. And man, that changed my life. That epiphany and that like right then and there and seeing actionable items of us actually doing it, man. And like I said, I came out of the river, rebaptized and on fire for Christ and never turned back again.
I'll give you some props that you won't give yourself. When we were looking at that crossing, so a lot of people listening won't know what a fording rep is. A fording rep is essentially a report to assess the crossability of a water obstacle. And so if you're going to move people across a river, you want to do a fording report to know, what's the entry point, what's the egress point, what's the security, is there covering concealment on both sides, how deep it is, how fast the water goes, what's the entry slopes, if you're going to do a rope bridge, is there anchoring points for rope bridge? And so we had looked 90 miles of assessing it. We had identified about 10 places and we really felt like 6 were good, but this one spot was perfect, and but the problem was it was on someone's property, and we needed to both do it that day. And so we were already dealing with Signet. We turned our phones on, so we were having shift to like map and compass and use those fundamentals. but you chose to skyline your to stuff, knowing there was Russian and Chinese snipers in the area, to be able to get a good assessment from a vantage point. And so you went up and on top of this mountain with this local national, and pretty sure, from my assessment, that you got some warning shots fired off at you not to go up there, but you got the vantage point we needed. And then we went down and we were like, hey, how can we get this property owner to give us access to this property without trying to sneak through his yard and get in that river? Previously, we were doing it at night through the stealth of darkness. But we were like, how can we get to do that in broad daylight? And you're like, let's get him to invite us to go in the river. And so it was just super, super witty and cunning. And we came up with this plan, and it paid off. And so I think it's a fun story. Looking back, it was crazy that we did it. But I'd love to hear your version, because I have my memory of it.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your version of how that went down.
Yeah. So first, to quote the British SAS slogan is, "For those who dare, win."
Yeah.
And so
we were pushing a timeline.
Yeah,
we were
absolutely. I mean, like you said, this is at the time that like we were being sent in by the Russians and all, and so our phones were pinging off. We kept seeing more presence, and then of the Russian forces, there was BMRs and different vehicles and up-armored vehicles all throughout the area, and they started having more. Eventually, they started staying in the area, fortifying the troops in that presence.
And so people listening at BMR, like they were like mech vehicle convoys of Russians and Chinese. Like, I mean, I think kind of one convoy was like 42 vehicles.
I saw the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's right. And so we were having to deal with that. Plus the Taliban. I mean, when we were in that river, the Taliban was 30 yards away from us. In fact, we waved to them and they waved back.
I love that picture too, of us swimming out of the river and all that. In the background is the 2 Taliban scouts on the moped. And I can't believe the timing of the picture. If you zoom in, you see the 2 Taliban scouts on the moped doing their border recon. And just couldn't believe that the timing of the picture. And then the one where we photobombed them at night and like pointing to, so for the mission, when I had to take high ground, we did, like you said, 90 miles of border recon. We had to assess and select different routes and all this, and viability of where we can cross and where we can get these people and all this other stuff and how we can cross out of it. And we extended our resources till we had nothing else. And in the intelligence cycle, we had to recollect information, because like, this is only the viability that we see. And we had 2 areas that we specifically really, really wanted to, but we weren't really sure what exactly it looked like and how the whole picture painted out. So there was no other option. Like, I had to take high ground and I had to go there. And like what you said there, the area was plagued, and they openly said, hey, there's Russian, what used to be called KGB, FSB, now FSV, whatever the acronym, that there's snipers on the mountaintops trying to prevent people from crossing. So we knew this. We knew there was landmines all throughout the area. We've been early warned. And at one point, remember, we were like
signs.
The signs. We were like 3 miles in on like foot and going to foot and vehicle and all this other stuff. And we like look up and I'm like, hey, stop. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, I gotta take a picture of something real quick. Don't move. He's like, what? And we look up and like, you see that sign? And it's like, I take a picture of the sign, and I'll share it with you later again. It's the most funny, like, Looney Tunes sign I've ever seen. It's a stick figure stepping on a landmine blowing up.
Yeah, you see him flying through the air.
He's flying through the air on the sign. And I got to provide it in here so that, like, viewers can look at it. And it was the most funniest thing. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, we got to hit back on the road and then go through vehicle. So we end up doing that. But like, just like they said, the area was, the Pansy River Valley was covered by landmines, booby traps, to snipers in there. So we knew the threat was real. We knew the threat was there. But ultimately it comes down to, when I formed Heroes for Humanity, our official our official motto is, in order for evil to prevail, good men must stand by and do nothing. Mm-hmm. Like you're right. We went there, we assessed routes. We could probably call it quits and go back and be like, hey, these are pretty viable, whatever. But that's not accurate information. That's not accurate intelligence reports. That's not accurate like viability. Would you trust your family to do that on someone says like, oh, but did you go in there? Did you sweat? Like what did the whole operating picture look like besides you seeing a bend in the river and anything like that? So it was like, hey, it came down to like, we have to assess it higher. We have, like, that's it. And so I ended up going up and taking to the point of a mountain peak and looking to look at the whole entire operating picture. And that's where I took one of the pictures. And eventually that's where, a shot by a sniper came ringing out across the valley, and like went like 2 feet off over and 2 feet to the side. It was like ping. And the, I want to say interpreter I was with, and then the Afghan nationals I was with, if I told them, man, imagine trying while under fire, all this other stuff going. So I was like, guys, we got to go. And I was like, hey, I got to meet Chad and whatever. So let's go. And so I kind of lead the way, and like, we're kind of at a brisk let's get out of here. And then the next one rings off, and it's a lot further away because we're moving now. And that's when I came to you. And throughout that whole entire time, I'm convincing these Afghan nationals, because we had a mission, was like, how can we get them to, like, how can we swim across this thing? How can we whatever? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna provide some you can say motivator, manipulator, however you want to spin the two sides of the coin. But I had to do influence operations and subject it into their head in a subconscious way to make it feel like it's their idea and that I want them to swim me across into Afghanistan. So I did this over like a 3-hour period while climbing up, like, man, it's so hot. And then we get to the top, like, oh, it's so beautiful. I can't believe you live here. This is so amazing, man. Look at that river. Oh, like, man, it's just so hot. That space with timing and some other stuff and some really good compliments, just kept doing that and throughout time, not too much, not too little. And then eventually, like, man, this is so hot. Do you ever go swimming in there? Like, oh, so now I need to say.
He's like, yes, all the time.
Yeah. And I was like, in my head, by me saying this, I need to find out, can you swim across? What's the viability of swimming? So I asked that question. And then at the same time, I'm saying, is there guards on the other side? Is there people who are prohibiting you from swimming? And at the same time, how safe is it? All this. So there's a lot of specifically skilled word judoing with this guy. And he's like, no, all the time. I was like, and some time goes by, all this other stuff. I'm like, man, it's really hot. It's such a beautiful day. I can't believe, and patting him on the back, like, I can't believe you live here. It's so amazing. You live there? Like, wow, right on the water. Man, that's so cool. I can't believe you swim there. Like, is it not dangerous? Now I'm leading questions. Is it not dangerous? Or I heard there's KGB snipers around. I heard there's Taliban's all throughout the area. And they're like, no, they leave us alone because we live here. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. He's like, no. You should come swimming. Eventually I get him to say throughout time again, you should come swimming with us. Mm-hmm. And if I bite right then and there, it could ruin the whole thing. So I was like, no, I can't. So I want him to feel like it's his idea and he's helping and forcing me to go. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no. I was like, I can't go there. I'll get shot. And he's like, no, they won't shoot you. I was like, no, I don't want to swim there. Said it's too dangerous. He said, it's not dangerous. This is my property. Everyone knows. You'll be my guest. And I'm like, no, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And I do it again. And he fights back one more time. And I said, what if they shoot me? They're like, they won't shoot you. You're my guest here. I'll swim with you. And that's why I was like, boom. Gotcha.
I never thought you'd ask.
Yep. I was like,
I said, you leaned over at me and said, I never thought you'd ask.
So then, yeah. And I was like, man, got it. Right then and there. So, we do that. I come back down, and
I don't remember which one of us went in first.
I think that guy.
He cannonballed in.
Because he cannonballed in,
yeah.
And because he like went off into the ditch while everyone was kind of like, changing into their swimsuit or like dropping trowel to swimsuits and shorts. And he comes out like the bush and he just boom and he jumps in.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Now, yeah.
And I remember that. And yeah. So, and that's when I said that coming out of the water, that's when it all hit me.
Yeah, I remember we're like out. He's like, we're like halfway in the middle, and then he said, don't swim and touch the other side because then they'll come for my daughters.
Yeah,
but then we were like pretending we were swimming, but.
Yeah, we're reassessing the whole entire thing, swimming across, doing fording reps, seeing like, okay, hey, Chad, if you stay at this one spot and I dead man float, how long am I floating for? So I'll hit the watch and I'll dead man float and be like, okay, a human body floats at this way, this fast of this current, at this time of the day, and collecting all that information. while at the same time looking like we're swimming and having fun.
Yeah.
You know, so
What a memory.
yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. And we do have that cool iconic picture of that.
Yes, and then that, cool. Right when we came out of the waters, that's when someone took a picture, and then that's when it has the Taliban scouts, exactly what he warned us and all this other stuff. And just like, hey, you could do two things. You could look guilty and be like, oh no, or friendly. That guy waved, you waved, they waved back.
Yeah, they waved
boom,
back.
hey,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So yeah, you come out of the water. Crazy operation. I know, not to get into the whole things of it. You could read it in the book, but I mean, I actually struggled flying out there, and had this moment of like, oh my gosh, what we're about to do. Like, Dennis has kids at home. What if my panic attacks come back? Like, this could be crazy. And then, and just praying and finding peace in it. And I told you on our layover in Dubai, and we prayed together, and it was just a crazy time. Like, I felt this tremendous peace the whole time doing it, and including when we got in the checkpoint, we got pulled inside the checkpoint and all that stuff. It just had incredible peace through the whole thing, and it was it was just I was grateful for you to come there and do that.
No, I felt extremely blessed, and I believe it was you who said it best. Is it was truly a modern day God ordained miracle. And
yeah.
I was just so happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I think it's really awkward, sometimes telling these stories because people will give you there's a lot of credit that's been given in these stories, but the truth is, like, and I'll say this for myself, and I could say it for you, the results of what took place there is nothing that I was able to do. I mean, we just went out and leaned forward and just try to fill the burden that God had on our heart. But the success of what happened there is beyond my own capability. I'm not smart enough or capable of pull off those things. That was a God orchestrated miracle to do it. And it was, and it's really just a drop in the bucket of all that could have been done.
Yeah.
And, and I know some of the insults or attacks or accusations that we even had, people that wrote me and you guys should have got killed out there. You're stupid for going there. Like, I very much knew the risk in going there, and I know we talked about it. Like, you knew the risk in going there, but there was risk. But just like I told my wife on the way to the airport, like, somewhere on the other side of the river was some little girl who was going to be sexually enslaved the rest of her life and raped every day of the rest of her life, and her and her mom and her dad are probably praying that somehow, some way, they'd be a miracle to help them. And if God gave us the open door to do that, how could we not? What if it was our kids? And the risk was real. Like, I mean, there was several times that several close calls for both of us.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And, like, specifically, in that Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, spoke out in that congressional record when she says, like, you openly saved my life from being captured by one of the Chinese militants. That the risk was extremely real. We had to be on our P's and Q's the whole entire time, be very hyper focused and vigilant. And but like you said, the best is like, are we doing what is right in righteousness in a place of comfort? Mm-hmm. Are we doing what we're called, and are we being obedient to the calling when it's comfortable? Mm-hmm. Like I always say when I go out and speak, I say, everyone always tells me, they're like, exactly what you said. The haters come back and say, well, you were married. What about your kids? What about your wife? You could have orphaned your kids. You could have widowed your wife. You could have whatever. And like, man, when God calls you to do something, you don't do it. 98% of obedience is still disobedience. And like I said, I had that call and everything like from there. So I had to be obedient to the calling. And the result of that is reflection of the proof of that whole entire day, from, God orchestrating the whole entire miracle to what we do today, where we are now, and to encourage others. Like, hey, one of the biggest lies that the enemy tells us is that we can't do anything, and you have to, and we'll go into this later on, but is that you have to worry about your family. What if, dude, what if God called Moses and then he was like, hey, you have to go out and free them. And he's like, but I have a wife. He's like,
it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. King David, to anyone who's called it in the Bible multiple times, it's like, when you're called, there's no unless, hey, you have to go save them. unless your wife says no, unless whatever. No,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, 98% obedience is still disobedience. And like, what are you putting? Who's on the throne right now? You know, is your wife on the throne? Is God on the throne? Is your job on the throne? Is your safety on the throne? Is your comfortability the thing that is keeping you from being obedient?
Yeah. 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 I think so many people confuse the importance of this life with the measure against eternity. Like we think that this is, our death here is like so permanent that we allow the fear of our death or the fear of our safety prohibit us and paralyze us from doing the things that God calls us to do. Now, I say that and say that we don't live recklessly. We take caution and we are wise and not just reckless, but doing the things that God's going to call you to do is going to require risk and sacrifice and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Always, at least for me, it's been always. At least every biblical hero that I have read about have faced risk and adversity and outside of their comfort zone. They do the things God burdened them to do.
Yeah. And then constant struggle for when they come back, and then they have to try to struggle to staying obedient to the Lord and putting him back on the throne.
Yeah.
You're not drinking your own Kool-Aid and then coming back and hitting the crisis, from Bathsheba to whoever multiple times to, it's something we have to strive for every day.
So coming out of Afghanistan, there was the aftermath of that was very profound for me. For me, previous to that, I had been speaking on resiliency and, telling, hundreds of thousands of troops through my speaking on resiliency, like, hey, when I went to Afghanistan the first time, I was mentally tough, physically tough, socially I was connected with the right people, but I didn't have the spiritual pillar. So I almost lost everything. But if you had that spiritual pillar, right, if you do it, then you'll be able to endure everything. And then I had to put it to the test because as I was going there, I struggled with fear. And I said, man, have I been selling snake oil? Like, or do I really believe this? Mm-hmm. And so I actually got to put it to the test. And so now I just felt this like, wow, I believed it before, but now I see the difference of what it's like to do something like that, to be in a place like that, to take that level of risk and have that spiritual security through an eternal relationship with Jesus. It really profoundly impacted me and elevated how I felt about this whole topic of resiliency, about spiritual resiliency, and about being able to answer the burdens that God puts on you. It really changed me. And I know you had your own experience of coming out of that, like you said, coming out of that water and how you were reborn. And that led to you shifting from the for-profit side of humanitarian work to starting Heroes for Humanity on the nonprofit side and just truly, shifting to just servanthood.
No, absolutely. So during that time, there was a little lull and I came back, that's when I started contracting again overseas and people were saying like, oh, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And I said, well, I don't know. I was like, I don't feel called like I did, prior. And then, about this time, Ukraine starts building up and we saw in the news, Russia's about to go and invade. And then loosely, out in the rescue community and in the world and humanitarian world, President Zelensky reaches out and it trickles all the way down and says 3,600 special needs orphans need rescued from eastern Ukraine out of there and to the western side. And that at the time I was just being still and trying to be obedient. I didn't feel called until that message came out and was like, man, my daughter's special needs, we just got done doing this massive rescue operation and everything else like that. So I was like, okay, well, how can I do the Ukraine invasion? How can I do this? Well, I'm going to put together similarly. I'm going to try to put together a 6-man joint special operations veteran team and do rescue missions at just apples and oranges, bombshells, artillery running, like just total war in a peer-to-peer way in the invasion. And like no one in the world has seen that yet. So that's when I was like, okay, well, how about the US government? There's got to be something for this. At the time, America has such a short memory. At the time, they look at today and they're like, oh, we've been flooding billions of dollars to Ukraine and all this other stuff and supporting. But in the first 9 months of the war, there wasn't a single dollar able to be attached. There wasn't humanitarian aid. There wasn't government contracts. There wasn't anything that officially tied the U.S. government to doing any of this. So I was like, well, this really was burning on my heart. And, after what we were just doing and then now coming to Christ and then like changing my whole life, I'm like, so I just prayed and meditated on it. And about a week or two goes by and I was like, man, these kids don't care who pays for them. The U.S. government can't have they don't have money. They have nothing to attach themselves, but they don't care who pays. They just need help. And when humanity is struggling, they don't care who comes to the rescue.
They don't care about the politics.
They don't care about they don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care who pays the bill. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, how can I do this? Praying, meditate on it. And then boom, it dawned on me, a nonprofit, I can take donations from around the world and not have to worry about, is the U.S. government paying? Do I have to get a contract? Any of this stuff can we do the right thing for the right reason? And it doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. Sea Spray said that, and like every time we talk about it, every time usually when I say it or hear it, it always gets me choked up because man, those words are just
especially when he said it
and the context that he said it.
In,
man, it really gets to me because it's the most powerful phrase and words that say so much. And so
for those listening, Sea Spray and I are in a car. We just come out of Izum, witnessed, we were trying to rescue this Marine that was shot. We just gained eyewitness evidence of a mass grave of 1,400 people. We hadn't slept in days, and we're driving, and the Fox News reporter asked me, because we're calling leaked disinformation to Fox News. The Fox News reporter asked me why we were there, and I was sleepy and aggravated, and I just like, because it's the right thing to do, and it kind of flippantly said. And then she's like, well, I got a question for Sea Spray. And she didn't, Sea Spray, she didn't know who he actually is. And she said, was it worth it? And he just said so quick. He's like, it doesn't have to be. Like her question, is it worth it? It doesn't have to be. And it's just like, man, it doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And those that know the story of Sea Spray literally traded his government career at the CIA, something he worked his entire life to get, to stay in Afghanistan and help people who he didn't even know, not from his country, never met before, and resigned on the spot because they said he couldn't do it anymore. And so you ask, was it worth it to him? He gave up everything, his whole career, to live in a hammock because that's where he lives. So it's just so powerful. And you're right. Like we all, I think you took that, I took that, like that's a life lesson for me because I always, before I heard him say that, I put an ROI on everything. I put an assessment, like a risk assessment of everything. And after that, I'm like, yeah, they didn't always have to be an ROI.
Yeah, no. And I think Sea Spray is one of the probably the number one most incredible person I've ever met in my life. I've learned so much from him and like just of who he is as a person, how he does it and everything like that. Man, he is truly incredible. And that what he did and how he did it and left everything he worked his whole life for to help others just is an incredible story and a testimony to his character.
Yeah,
man. But so throughout this process now, like I said, I had to start up a nonprofit now, and I was like, okay, what do I call it? How do we get these people and fund these operations that are ran globally? And if the U.S. doesn't back it or whatever, these people still need help. So that's when I realized I was going to do it as a nonprofit and this is how we were going to do it and all this. I was like, well, what should I call it? And I was like, well, I just got done doing the Afghan Evacs. I worked with, various different people from you to Dave Eubanks from Free Burma Rangers, who's such an inspirational part of who I am and what we do at Heroes Humanity, to what like our friendship and who you are and everything and what you represent, to what Sarah Verardo and Save Our Allies, what they represented. And we were doing all these crazy operations to help humanity. And it wasn't we were helping humanity on the name of the U.S. government, on the name of America, or any of the stuff. These guys were truly just modern day heroes for humanity. I was looking around and serving with the most incredible people, from like someone who's like an oil changer at Jiffy Lube to a millionaire, and like people who had family, people who didn't. Their statures didn't matter because they were all doing the right thing for the right reason. and it didn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And I was like, man, these guys, I felt so unqualified to stand amongst all of you guys when every time we were doing things. And I was like, dude, these guys are literal heroes for humanity, not heroes for the government, heroes for America. And I was like, you know what? In tribute to that, I'm going to call it Heroes for Humanity. And it's going to exactly do that. It's going to take the gifts and talents of individuals to be the Lord's hand and feet and help out other people who are being oppressed. You know, that's why our slogan, official slogan, is to free the oppressed so others may live. It's first is the Special Forces, Army Special Forces motto is to free the oppressed. The PJ Special Force, or the PJ motto is so that others may live. And because we stemmed as a nonprofit of various special operations, we blended the two and made our symbol of a phoenix from just like veterans. When we leave our service, we feel like we're in ashes, but just like a phoenix, rise from the ashes, take flight stronger and better and repurposed. And that's why I drew up the symbol as a phoenix. I had the American eagle head on it. And I did the Special Forces tab, writing Heroes for Humanity. I did the 4 with a lightning bolt for Ranger Regiment, Special Forces tab to Force Recon gold and black and gold. And then I touched the star in the background for Polaris, the original the for-profit that we started, then we switched over to the nonprofit. And then, man, we just been global and as a quick reaction force for justice, for righteousness, to help out everyone from precision personnel rescue, Afghan, Ukraine, to humanitarian medical aid, and then ultimately evangelism. So I got a question for you, because I deal with this question a lot, and I have had to answer this question a lot, particularly with Ukraine. A lot of my audience, a lot of the people listening right now, did not like the fact of supporting Ukraine, and so I had to explain it. Like, I didn't agree with the billions of dollars that the U.S. government sent there, because 70% of it didn't even make it there, and the war could have been turned off at any point, even now, right? This is a war of corrupt politicians for ego and ideology and self-gain and funding military-industrial complexes and enrichment. And that corruption, the result of that corruption, no one's more victimized, even us as taxpayers, no one's more victimized than the citizens of Ukraine. And so for me, even though I have my political biases against those who would fund something like this, I will not allow my political biases interrupt my compassion and my heart for people. And I think as Christians, especially conservatives, like, should test themselves with that. Because one of the things, like, what are you in Ukraine for? What about our southern border? Like, well, can we do both? Like, do I have to pick one? Do I have to pick, like, children and innocent civilians in Ukraine or the border? How about we do both? How about you get off the email or comment thread and go down and help on the border, right? Like, so I've had to deal with this a lot. So I want to ask you, because your heart is for humanity without borders, through Heroes for Humanity, what would you say to someone that says, why go across the world when we have problems here at home? What would you say to that? Man, that's an excellent question. And just you pegged it from the get-go. We, in humanitarian space, and what I do, what you do, that's probably a question I get on the daily or weekly. And you nailed it when you said, well, what are you doing right now? You know, like, can't we do both with the border? It's a very hard one, but at the same time, people to say that so they can degrade of, you know, what your works are doing. So there's a lot in that question. So one of the things I used to always, that when I go out and speak, I always say is, when we go to heaven, we don't go to American heaven, we don't go to Mexican heaven, we don't go to Ukrainian heaven, we don't go to African heaven, we go to heaven, and that is it. And, you know, what I've seen in my experience in war and everything like that, and I've been on the front lines, I've seen the fire and brimstone of what war does, and the people that it impacts the most are children, and they suffer the longest. And what you said, I saw you say it before in an interview, and you say, I don't care if is Putin corrupt, is Zelensky corrupt, is America corrupt? You know, I don't care about any of that. I care about people, and helping people is what we should all care about. And what happens if it's in Ukraine and bombs dropping in Ukraine, to bombs dropping in Syria, to Gaza, to any of that stuff, it affects us all. They are our neighbors and they are our friends, and it shocks the system. It floods borders, and it destabilizes economies. And like I said, is the people who suffer the most are children. They suffer the longest, and then it creates refugees, and then it becomes everyone else's problem. But until when is it our problem? At our own borders, at our own system, and all the sort of stuff. So, I really like one of the quotes in the Bible when Jesus says it. So one of them would be, "For the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done unto me." Are we only helping Americans and when we go to heaven? Like we had, like in our sphere of influence, we had the ability to go in Afghanistan and help those people. We have the ability to go to Ukraine and help those people. We had the ability to go to Mexico, and we have the ability to help Americans here. And the answer is yes, we do all of that stuff. So at Heroes for Humanity, we specifically do local, national, and nationwide and international operations, as long as it's in our sphere of influence. But we shouldn't close our minds and fixed only inside the United States.
You have worked, and Heroes for Humanity has worked both stateside and internationally. I mean, I know you even came on some of our operations, partnered with us in Ukraine, and you've did your own operations in Ukraine. You've done counter trafficking with rescuing children in California and Texas. Recently, you guys rescued a 16-year-old girl from North Carolina who was found in Virginia Beach, and just working Arizona. You work with rescuing trafficked children, and I know you guys are kind of been really leaned into that. When when the hurricane happened in North Carolina, you guys stepped in and was down in the rivers and doing medical search and rescue and medical relief. You jumped into the California fires, and you were there. And when the fires, the Kerrville floods, you guys are pulling bodies out, ministering to families, and led some dive operations in the rivers there. You guys responded to Thailand earthquake. And so, yeah, I mean, you guys have really been everywhere. I know you just got back from Africa.
Yeah.
You were in Israel and Gaza, and in Africa. I mean, the Gaza thing, I mean, that was... I mean, you're FaceTiming from there while bombs were going off and stuff like that. But
so that was Israel, not Gaza.
Okay.
That was so during the 12-day war, which that's what the news called it in history. It was Iran-Israel war, and that's when whoever decided to leave in the United States. I don't care to go into politics, but we left our guys behind again. Mm-hmm. So I felt called to go, and me, Dr. Joe. Griffin, and then Brian Christenberry, who are operators at Heroes for Humanity. We felt called to go, and we rescued over a period of 9 to 12 days of the 12-day war. We pulled 92 Americans who were stranded in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Jericho, and we did shuttle runs back and forth while you said hypersonic ballistic missiles were firing all throughout the air from Iran, striking down, and we pulled out 92 Americans and we put them into Oman, Jordan, and flew them out directly back to America. And those are all Americans from there. So it was a massive testimony exactly to leading with your heart, leading for righteousness, following the Lord and what he calls you to do, and doing it in his name, and it was amazing.
God bless you for doing that. And I'll confess, I have to you here before, but I'll do it here. I actually somewhat deterred you from doing that one. When you first told me you were going to go, I'm like, the airport's open. Like, what are you doing? And then you guys were ahead of me. The airport closed and the people were stuck. Mm-hmm. And so I was wrong on my assessment on that one. And you leaned forward and was able to save those people. So awesome job.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we have a lot of very close mutual friends. Matt Height, Jeff Blaylock, and Matt Mbanga, over in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing an amazing effort there, and feeding kids and sharing the gospel. Yeah, out in Zimbabwe, and so.
And that's just in Zambia. We just got done about like 15 days ago. We built out a agricultural center in Zambia that feeds 1,000 people a day now. From here on out. And then we broke ground on a medical facility that we're currently building so that Heroes for Humanity can team up and start and I have about 6+ doctors, nurse practitioners, and PAs on standby, just doing rotations in and out to help those 900 to 1,000 people in that village with medical care constantly. So just super happy to be part of Matt and Bunga's personal ministry, and then Village of Hope to all of those people, and serve in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and then we spoke at a global conference of humanitarian aid as a keynote speaker in South Africa, all in that, like about 15 days ago.
That's awesome. So Matt, I've said it before, but open invitation. If you come back in the States, I want to have Mbanga on the show and talk about the work he's doing there. He's an incredible human.
Absolutely. Super inspirational. I learned so much from him. He made the quote book about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So those who don't
if
know.
you guys don't know, Dennis has a quote book.
Yeah.
I got to be in there somewhere, right?
You're there like 7 different, well more than probably 7 to 8 different times. So in the quote book.
You should publish that.
So that's what it was originally there for. It was going to be, so in a book of knowledge throughout my time of life, so many people have poured into me and said something very inspirational in the moment that meant so much. And so one of the rules of the quote book is I can't Google it. It has to come naturally in the moment, right then and there. And so I pull out my phone immediately and I start quoting it. And it's probably about 12 to 15 years old now. And I wanted to share that and eventually print it to my children and give them wisdom, what I learned in life in real time situations. And so if it was like, I said like 7 to 9 plus for you, to Matt and Bunga about 2 to 3 times, to anyone. And it's been a joke now for all my community, my friends and all that. It's like some people will be like, did I make the quote book? And so
one of my favorite ones, and it comes to with people tearing each other down, which we see, so much of that. And but one of my favorite ones you said this to me, like I was getting heat from someone and just drama, and you're like, man, you could be a water walker and they'll say it's because you can't swim.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like, I love that.
You can be a literal water walker, and then people would just say, that's just because he can't swim.
Yeah. So what again, before we move on, what's another favorite quote from there?
Ooh.
What's on the top of your list?
I might butcher this one, but because Matt and Bunga is fresh in my head, is he said, men of violence are easy to remember, but men of courage, strength, and peace are hard to forget. And I love that, man.
Yeah.
And he said it multiple times, and it was super impactful because, like I told you in my testimony in the military, man, we idolize, like, it sounds so horrible to say now because the wars are done, the 2 wars were kicking, and everyone was amping each other up. But like we almost like idolized the psychopathic behavior and the inner killer in all of us, and we thought like those guys are the guys we want to keep leading by. It's right, man. Men of violence are hard to forget. Men of violence are easy to remember. Those were the leaders we looked to. Man, this guy's a straight killer, man. I want to be like this guy. But men of peace, inner courage, those guys are hard to forget. And character. I just really, really love that because I feel like that's who the transformational person who I am now, and who I want to be more like.
In that, I got a few closing questions, but in that, what do you say about someone that has to be both? There's a season in a moment that you have to be both. The Bible says it clearly. There's men of war. And God has used men of war to do violent acts to extinguish evil. What do you say to that? Of being a person who has compassion, has peace, has the right motives, but has to be violent?
That's a hard one, because there's an old proverb, and it says that inside. So the proverb goes, I believe it's a Native American grandpa and a little boy is sitting around a campfire, and he says, "Grandpa, I have two wolves fighting inside me." Oh, sorry. The grandpa says, "Inside of us, there's 2 wolves fighting to win inside of you. One evil and one good." And he says, "Grandpa, which one grows?" And he said, "The one you feed." Mm-hmm. And man, I really like that because inside of us, there's a good and evil, like essentially wolf, And the one that we feed, the one that we pay attention to, the one that, like, if it's the metal music that's pounding in your head, if that's the conscious decisions that you make to make yourself an elite killer, to whatever you want, that's the wolf that grows inside you. So when you're struggling, when you're struggling to try to do righteousness while still coming from the flesh, especially with our backgrounds, that is something that's so hard to balance. And that's why you have to have good, strong, Christian warriors or good, wise counsel filtering you. Like you're a part of my my wise counsel. Every idea I do, I bounce it off with you and 5 other people so that I know, hey, is this a good idea or is this a God idea? Is this something that is this something I want to do in the flesh right now? And then it comes down to like spiritual warfare. Is this idea of struggle, or whatever that you're saying, is I'm a man of violence, but I'm trying to do righteousness, and how do I, throttle modulation? How do I tailor that back and forth? What the outcome is and how you do it, I think, is what plays in a part of that. But one of the biggest ones is, like being tested, because the enemy can grab guys like us who are so driven and everything like that and pull us aside and have us completely derailed. And he doesn't do it initially. He convinces us by slightly switching the degrees a few off. Just like a sniper rifle or anything like that, with just, shooting a target out at 400 and being 0.1 mil off is nothing. But over 600 yards, 800 yards, and 1,000 yards off, now you're completely missing the target. When Christopher Columbus came to America and he went to Plymouth Rock on his second expedition, he tried to hit the same spot, but he was 1 degree off. And without having that self-course correction of wise counsel or anything, self-correcting that, he found himself in the Caribbean, but 1 degree off spread throughout that whole entire journey. That's where he found himself. So if you're a man of violence and you're trying to do things in the right in the name of righteousness and do the right thing, who's counterbalancing you? Who's in your wise counsel who you can look to and say, can you keep me pure? And we know that we struggle with that because it says that we have to die to oneself and bear your cross daily. So if you wake up and start the morning instead of reaching for your phone, you reach for the throne. Start your day off with Christ. Start off with a devotion, because if it doesn't start with Christ, it doesn't end with Christ. And then say, are these ideas being filtered through that first and foremost?
Yeah, I'd say, I'd double down on that and say, yes, there's moments that we have to commit acts of violence in for the sake of righteousness, but what's our motive? Like, what's driving us? Why are we doing that, right? Like, if you and I had to deploy again today and to face an adversary enemy, I certainly know you're capable of doing acts of violence, but I believe your heart posture would be totally different in it today as it may have been in the past. And we see case after case of that in the Bible.
Yeah. Dave Eubanks does a really good job in his book, in the Free Burma Rangers. And he states it is, hey, God, is this something that you want us to do? Then if so, pray on it, stop, pray, and act. And if this is something you want us to do, then we'll do it full obedience. But if not, then no.
Yeah,
let's be obedient. Not.
He is the standard to me.
Absolutely.
Dave Eubanks is the standard of godly men doing the most ridiculously difficult things in the face of danger. But he is so, I mean, I have to be really careful not putting Dave Eubanks on a pedestal that he wouldn't want to be on, because like that guy to me is like the standard to doing this type of work, but in working environments where you could be just filled with hate and filled with rage and filled with vengeance. But he does that job and keeps his heart pure, because he does everything just so much in alignment with Jesus. He's a remarkable human being, and I'm really glad that you've continued to work with him.
No, absolutely. He's a very close friend of mine, super influential in my life. And when we met him on the border of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, I didn't know who he was until then. We started working together, and then I always joke but very serious at the same time. I say Dave Eubanks has a red line to God. I feel like when he prayers, he calls up God's like, hey, I need prayers right now. And I've watched him perform miracles, or miracles happen out of the air directly. And I was joking, I feel like he truly has a red line straight to God.
Yeah. Oh man, I was mortified when the publisher made
Oh
the
yeah.
mistake in my book, and it kind of, but I had it edited and then I put a public retraction too. But yeah, I just love that guy and his family. Amazing family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just with them about 70 days ago in Burma, helping them out and in their humanitarian and medical aid crisis, and obviously that tragedy that's happening and the genocide in Burma,
Yeah.
and just trying to help him in his mission and his ministry, and with amazing individuals, again, like those heroes for humanity type individuals who are out there every day living in the jungle. He rose his family pretty much in the jungle out there,
Yeah.
and they're all doing it, saving lives in the name of Jesus. Like, incredible. Absolutely.
Well, Dennis, I went through. I highlighted some points of some of the missions you guys are doing because each one of those topics I brought up, we could do a whole episode on it. So, just in closing, well, looking back across your testimony, all the missions you've been part of, where do you see God fitting in the picture of those who are facing hardships and seeking to find purpose?
Yeah. So, first I would share everyone, hey, follow us, look us up, and see how you can be a part of the mission. Because we can help, helping others is what we're all called to do. But at the same time, where I think God is leading us at Heroes for Humanity is, I don't know that answer, but in Scripture it says, "Be still and know that I am God." And when so everyone says, how do you guys get your missions? And especially in a world that's so corrupt and always tragedies flowing, all these different floods to hurricane. Are we going to knee jerk at every reaction? No, that's not who we are. We're not a FEMA organization. We're not Samaritan's Purse, who's globally covered like that. So what criteria has to meet for us is it has to shock the system and overload the government. So Kerrville, Texas flood, for example, it shocked the system. Over hundreds died, and hundreds were missing. Shocked the system, overload the government. FEMA couldn't handle it, whatever, all this other stuff. So there's a gap. And in that gap is where we stand. And in that gap is where we find a mission. And still, then we pray and meditate on it. And just like I said, I learned that from Dave Eubanks, is like, and just go to pray and meditate on it and say, God, is this something that you want us to do? And if so, then let us know. And we will act so with courage, with righteousness, and in your name. But if not, put something in our life and put a sign so we know that not to waste any more time, and let's not do this. And we'll keep praying on it. And that's how we kind of determine it is shock the system, overload the government, mission criteria, pray and meditate on it. And is that so? So I don't know what 2026 has for us, and there's always it's hurricane season coming up, so we'll see how it happens. But I just know if we keep acting out in the name of righteousness, if we keep helping people keep flooding to us, and as a beacon of hope in this dark world. And we know that in a dark world like this, it's easier to see the light of the bright, the bright of the light in such a dark time like this. So. I openly encourage people, hey, follow and join an organization like us, Heroes for Many, Free Burma Rangers, any organizations who's out there actually doing the work, putting foot on in the concrete, and don't fall victim to the greatest lie the enemy has ever told us is that you can't do anything about it. Well, I'm not a special forces operator. I'm not a Green Beret. I'm not a Delta Force. I'm not a whatever. It's like, dude, neither was Harriet Tubman. She was just a little black lady without shoes who went to save thousands of lives to do the right thing. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be, this crazy person to be obedient to the Lord. And that's what the enemy convinces us, is that we can't do anything. So get your butts off the couch.
We're not qualified, right?
We're not qualified is another one. I told you guys how I felt unqualified when we all first started doing this stuff. And so I've seen so many crazy and amazing individuals step up and do the right thing. And honestly, with God on our side, like I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah. I don't know if you have this when you quote book, but God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called.
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's a very cliche thing, and it's true.
It's true. True.
It's what I tell all the people who come to us, and that's the first thing they say. I feel unqualified, and that's what and I was like, do you think that if you spent 15 years in Ranger Regiment or, as a Navy SEAL, it's like, we're not hitting any objectives and shooting it up. I was like, if anything, we have to untrain that out of you. We have to go in there, produce your own intelligence, produce your own OSINT, go and collect and maneuver around the battlefield or a hazardous area, austere environment, humanitarian one, and perform humanitarian medical aid. Can you do that? Can you share the gospel? Can you whatever? And then again, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for self? Or are you doing it to help people? And so what I always say is we weigh hearts, not resumes.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Very short answer. We're on the Resilient Show. Everybody that comes on the show has some contribution to the topic of resiliency, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, socially. I think you cover all. So what advice would you have for the audience on living a resilient life?
Yeah. So, advice on being resilient or living a resilient life is don't get bogged down by your own oppression. Don't get bogged down by your own BS out there and be self-infatuated and now paralysis through analysis. Don't quit drinking a pot of coffee and 8 Monsters and then sitting there and watching TV and scrolling through social media, having anxiety levels. Is use the trials and tribulations that God put in your life to not hold you down and dwell on it, but just like being a sword is shoved in the embers, heated up, and then pounded away to strengthen you, cooled off, reheated up again, and use that stuff that life has hit you with to be a stronger forged steel in the path of righteousness. So be resilient. It's about grit. It's about using those trials and tribulations and using that to conquer whatever objective, whatever mission is at hand. If that's applying for college, if that's getting a next job, if that's just waking up every morning when you had a rough life and maybe a rough childhood, use it like what man made for evil, God made for good. Use that to project yourself. It's ultimately like, rocket fuel. Fuel. You can drink it and be intoxicated on it, or you can light it on fire and project yourself up, so.
Yeah. Awesome. And man, I am so proud of you and Charlotte and everybody at Heroes for Humanity. Just watching it grow and seeing the amazing work you're doing. Happy to, continue to support it and be part of it. And, we're going to put for the audience in our show notes below. You'll be able to have links and how to find Heroes for Humanity and support it. As Dennis mentioned, it is a 501c3 nonprofit. So definitely if you're looking for charitable giving, tax deductible giving, then Heroes for Humanity. I personally am a donor. So because it's one of the places I really believe in because I see firsthand the work they're doing. And so please support them. If you're looking to get involved in any work or maybe you have some skills to offer, it's a great place to support. Dennis, not only do I love you and proud of you, but our sponsors are too. A lot of our sponsors know about who you are and what we do. We got Smith & Wesson Firearms, Vortex Optics, Gators Eyewear, then the incredible gun here that you got to carry on the upcoming episode of Shadow Figures. And so we hadn't got you one yet. So you're going to get a 1854 Smith & Wesson Stealth with the whatever caliber you want, whether it's going to be 45, 44, 357 with a Vortex Strike Eagle 1x8. You know more about this than I do, but it's not a sniper rifle, but I guess it is within 150 yards.
Yeah.
So
no, thank you so much. Thank you for your sponsors. I love Vortex. Absolutely. They're like everyone's favorite piece of glass in like the sniper community, and massive fan of them. I got to carry it to essentially potentially take down Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. Thank you for all of the support that you do for Heroes for Humanity, being on a board for Heroes for Humanity, and then all the good that can come from us and being friends and partnership throughout our life and affecting lives of others, because that's what we're here for, is ultimately to help humanity and everyone else with the gifts and talents that happen to us.
Absolutely, man. And we're also going to give you some BioPro, which is going to, have you gotten BioPro yet?
I've tried it before, yes.
Okay, I thought you had. So we're going to make sure you have a fresh supply of BioPro, which is all natural human growth hormones. So you're not dealing with anything synthetic. And a lot of people like come on the show, especially guys like us that have had a hard time sleeping, have got their sleep down with it. So for me, I was doing like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. And ever since, I've said this a million times, but I just make sure you know, like, man, it got me to 8, 9 hours of sleep at night.
Oh, wow.
And it's really been a big factor for me. So we get stock up on BioPro, and outside of BioPro, we have BioAccelerator down in Columbia. We have for rejuvenative healthcare and Allied Wealth Management. Just some amazing companies that are behind you, the show, and man. I just had a real good time with that conversation. If you guys are not already signed up, sign up for our Patreon, because we're going to have Dennis behind the camera telling some other stories from Afghanistan, Ukraine, and talking a little bit more with our producer here. And so Patreon is not only just amazing behind the scenes content, but it's also one of the best ways you can support this show. So join the Patreon family today with directions down in our show notes. And also, if you like this episode, please like, comment, and share it with everyone. We'll see you guys next week. God bless and stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You can join for $15 a month and get behind the scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.